The strange thing is, the story didn't begin with death. It began with coffee, a quiet table by the window, and a feeling I couldn't explain even years later. And if I'm being honest, I still don't know whether that feeling was love, or fate tapping me on the shoulder a little too hard. I remember the cafe clearly. Not because it was special, but because it wasn't it. Used one of those places people duck into between meetings, half awake, half broken, pretending they have somewhere important to be. Latte afternoon. Soft jazz playing too loud. The smell of burned espresso hanging in the air like regret. He was already seated when he walked in. It didn't look like someone about to change my life. No dramatic entrance, no slow motion nonsense. Used a man in a dark jacket, sleeves slightly rolled up, hair still messy like he'd run his hands through it too many times. Confident without trying. Calm in a way that made the room feel quieter. He sat down across from me without asking. Normally, that would have annoyed me. I'm not someone people interrupt easily. I grew up surrounded by power, money, people who always wanted something from me. I learned early how to shut that down with a look. But I didn't. He smiled, not charming, not rehearsed, just honest. Like he decided, right there, that talking to me felt natural. So, he said, glancing at my cup, "You're a black coffee person." That already tells me a lot. He raised an eyebrow. "Oh yeah." "Yeah," he said, leaning back. "It tells me you don't like pretending things are sweet when they're not." Isolde laughed him off. Instead, I smiled. That was the first crack. We talked like we'd known each other for years. Not small talk, not polite conversation. Real things. The kind people save for late nights and bad decisions. We talked about how success can feel lonelier than failure. About how people chase happiness like it's a destination, only to realize they don't know what to do once they arrive. I didn't tell him who my father was. I didn't ask what I did for a living. Somehow, none of that mattered. For the first time in a long while, I felt seen without being evaluated. Then my phone buzzed. Work. Always work. I remember standing up, already knowing this moment wouldn't stretch any further than it was supposed to. Funny how you can feel the ending before it arrives. I had to go, I said, and I hated how much I meant it. He nodded. Yeah. Me too. We stood there for a second, neither of us moving. That awkward space where one of you should ask for a name, a number, something. Anything. Neither of us did. Instead, he said, "I hope we run into each other again." He said, "Me too." And then we walked away. He turned around once. Just once. He didn't. And somewhere behind me, he turned too, only to find my back disappearing into the crowd. For a long time, I thought that was it. Just another almost. Another story you tell yourself late at night when you wonder about the lives you didn't choose. What I didn't know was that just minutes later, everything would change. Because he never made it home. The accident was fast. Brutal. One of those things you hear about on the news and shake your head at before flipping the channel. A car ran a light. Metal twisted. Glass everywhere. His heart stopped before the ambulance arrived. And that soul ended there. But it didn't. Across town, my father, Richard Hale, was sitting in his study, staring at a legal document they already read 3 times without understanding a word of it. Richard Hale. Billionaire. CEO. A man who built an empire with numbers and nerve. A man who had always believed he was in control. That night, he heard a voice. Not loud. Not threatening. Just calm. Patient. Like it had all the time in the world. "Richard," it said. He thought it was exhaustion. Stress. Maybe grief sneaking up on him again, wearing my mother's voice like a mask. But when the voice asked him to follow it, when it led him into the darken. Steady and asked him to sit down, my father felt something he hadn't felt in decades. Fear. The figure stepped out of the shadows slowly. Young. Handsome. Familiar in a way that made no sense. "I don't understand," my father said. "Who are you?" The man looked at him with eyes too calm for a living person. "I'm the one who was supposed to take you this morning," he said gently. "When your heart stopped." My father remembered the pain. The sudden darkness at his office desk. The moment everyone panicked around him. "You didn't," my father said. "No," the man replied. I didn't. Because that, it turns out, was curious. Curious about life. About worms. About what made people cling to existence even when it hurt. And before taking my father, Death wanted to understand what he was ending. So he made a deal. My father would live a little longer. Long enough to say goodbye properly. Long enough to settle unfinished things. In exchange, Death would stay by his side, walking among the living, experiencing everything he never could. No one could know who he really was. If my father broke the rules, the deal ended immediately. My father agreed. Not because he feared dying. He made peace with that long ago, but because of me. And my sister. Because leaving us without warning felt crueler than death itself. And that's how Death came to live in our house. And in a borrowed name. In a borrowed body. Wearing the face of the man they almost loved in a coffee shop. Didn't they recognize him at first? Not until I walked into the dining room that evening and saw him sitting there, stiff, curious, holding a fork like it might bite him. Our eyes met. My heart stopped for a different reason this time. You, I said, before I could stop myself. What are you doing here? He looked just as surprised to see me. And smiled. But something was off. The face was the same. The posture. The voice. But the man I'd met that morning was gone. And in his place sat someone who didn't yet know how to be human, but was about to learn, whether he wanted to or not. For a while after that night, everything felt like it was happening underwater. Teams still moved, people still talked, forks still clinked against plates, but nothing quite sounded the way it used to. The man sitting across from me at the dinner table looked exactly like the one from the cafe, yet every instinct in my body kept whispering the same thing: this is not him. Or maybe worse, it is him, but something essential has been stripped away. My father introduced him as Elias Crow. A personal consultant. That was the phrase he used, like it explained anything. My sister nodded politely. The house staff pretended not to stare. He stared enough for everyone. Elias, on the other hand, stared at everything. The chandelier. The food. The way people laughed at jokes that weren't funny. He watched like a student dropped into the wrong classroom halfway through the semester, trying to piece together the rules before getting called on. He lifted his glass, sniffed the wine, thrown it. This smells like old wood and sunlight, he said. The table went silent. He laughed before I could stop myself. It came out sharp, surprised, a little hysterical. He turned toward me like they just taught him something important. Is that not what it smells like? He asked. No, I said, still smiling, but I like that you think it does. That smile again. Softer this time. Like he was cataloging it for later. My father cleared his throat. Hard. A warning sound. He didn't understand it yet, but he already knew this was dangerous. Over the next few days, Elias was everywhere. Quietly present, rarely in the way, always watching. He followed my father to meetings. Sat in the back of rooms he didn't belong in, asked questions at odd moments, the kind that made powerful people uncomfortable because they revealed how fragile their certainty really was. At home, he wondered. He found him in the kitchen at midnight, tasting peanut butter straight from the jar with a spoon like it was Holy Communion. This is remarkable, he said, completely serious. Why don't people talk about this more? I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. You're acting like you've never eaten before. He looked up, thought about it. I suppose you haven't. Not like this. Something in his voice made my chest tighten. You really don't remember me, do you? He asked. He studied my face carefully. I remember you, he said. But not the way you want me to. That hurt more than I expected. Later that night, I swam laps in the pool until my muscles burned. The water helped me think. Or maybe it helped me stop thinking. When I surfaced, he was sitting at the edge, feet dangling in the water, sleeves rolled up again just like before. You're going to catch a cold, I said. I don't think I can, he replied. He laughed softly. Of course you can. Why are you sad, he asked suddenly. The question hit too close to the bone. I'm not sad, I said. You are, he said gently. Your movement's slow when you are. Juras avoid mine. He floated there, heart pounding. You don't get to analyze me like that. I'm not analyzing, he said. I'm noticing. That was the moment I realized something terrifying. He was learning. Not facts. Not rules. Bad people. And he was learning them fast. At the hospital where I worked, life and death brushed past each other every day like strangers sharing a hallway. Elias showed up one afternoon unannounced, holding flowers like he'd seen someone else do it once and figured it must be correct. A patient recognized him immediately. Not his face. His presence. Old MRS, Calder grabbed his wrist with shaking fingers and whispered, "You're here for me, aren't you?" He froze. Elias didn't pull away. He knelt beside her bed, voice soft. "Not yet." She cried. Relief and disappointment tangled together. Until they were impossible to separate. Later, I asked him why he came. "I wanted to see where you spend your time," he said. "This place is loud with endings." "You shouldn't be here," I said without thinking. He nodded. "I know." And then he left, as if afraid he might break something if he stayed too long. That night, my father was waiting for him. He heard raised voices through the study door. Words like reckless, boundaries, consequences. Elias didn't raise his voice once. "You ask me to understand," he said calmly. "I am." My father slammed his hand on the desk. "At what cost?" Neither of them noticed me standing there. Or maybe they did, and it just didn't matter anymore. Things escalated quickly after that. My boyfriend at the time, Nathan, didn't like Elias. Not from the start. Nathan was brilliant, ambitious, and always counting steps ahead. Elias disrupted the rhythm. Made my father unpredictable. Made me distant. During a board meeting, Nathan pushed hard for a merger my father had resisted for years. When my father vetoed it again, Nathan snapped. "Some things are inevitable," he said. "Like death. Or taxes." Elias smiled. "Why do people say that?" he asked. As if inevitability excuses cruelty. The room froze. Nathan scoffed. "You wouldn't understand." Elias met his gaze, eyes suddenly very dark. "I understand more than you think." After that, Nathan began scheming. Private meetings. Secret botes. Whispers in hallways. My father watched it all unravel with a strange calm. Like a man already half gone. And through it all, Elias stayed close to me. We talked late into the night. About fear. About desire. About what it means to choose someone knowing you might lose them. The first time he kissed me, it was hesitant. Curious. Like he was asking permission from the universe. The second time, it wasn't. You don't need to describe the night we spent together. So many things are too fragile to narrate without breaking them. But I will say this. He loved me the only way he knew how. Completely. Without reservation. Without understanding the cost. And that terrified my father more than anything else. The morning after, he confronted Elias. "You cannot love her," my father said. Elias tilted his head. "Why not?" "Because you will leave," my father replied. "And she will be destroyed." Elias considered that. "All love ends in loss," he said quietly. "Yours included." My father had no answer for that. Everything came to a head faster than I expected. Nathan moved against my father. The board voted. Control slipped away in a matter of hours. He watched my father sign papers with steady hands, dignity intact, legacy burning behind his eyes. That night, Elias found me in the hallway. "I have to go soon," he said. My heart stuttered. "Where?" I hesitated. "Back." He grabbed his hand. "Then take me with you." He looked at me like they just offered him the sun. But somewhere deep inside, something broke. Because for the first time, he understood what that would mean. And he knew he couldn't accept it. The night of my father's birthday arrived quietly, the way the most important moments often do, without warning, without drama, just a soft pressure in the chest that tells you something irreversible is about to happen. The estate was full of people. So many smiles. So many congratulations that sounded rehearsed. My father moved through it all with grace, shaking hands, laughing at the right moments, holding himself like a man who still owned the future, even though he knew he was hours away from letting it go. I was watching him when I realized something that still breaks me a little. No one else knew. Not my sister. Not the board members. Not the politicians and donors raising glasses to his health. They saw a powerful man celebrating another year. I saw a father memorizing faces, sounds, the weight of his daughter's hand in his. Elias stood apart from the crowd, near the edge of the terrace, watching the world like it was already a memory. It looked painfully human that night. Too human. He walked up beside him. You're leaving tonight, I said. It didn't deny it. I was hoping you wouldn't say it out loud, he replied. We stood there in silence, the music drifting toward us in pieces. Laughter rising and falling like waves. I love you, I said. The words felt steady. Certain. He didn't need him to say them back. He just needed him to hear them. He turned to me slowly. If I stay, he said, it won't be because I should. It will be because I want to. I know. And if I take you, he continued, voice tight, it won't be love. It will be theft. That hurt. Because say it was true. He shook my head. Then tell me what this was. Tell me it mattered. He closed his eyes, just for a moment, like someone bracing against a wave. It mattered, he said. Enough to change me. My father joined us then. Older somehow. Lighter too. It's time, he said, not to me, but to Elias. Elias nodded. My father turned to me and smiled the smile he used when he wanted me to be brave. Dance with me, he said. We moved onto the floor as fireworks lit up the sky behind us, exploding in colors that felt almost cruel in their beauty. He held me close, tighter than usual, like he was trying to memorize the exact shape of me. You did well, he whispered. You lived bravely. That's all I ever wanted. Tears blurred everything. I don't want you to go, I said. I know, he replied. But wanting isn't always the deciding factor. When the music ended, he kissed my forehead and stepped back. Elias waited at the edge of the property, near the old stone bridge that led into the trees. The air felt different there. Quieter. Like the world was holding its breath. My father straightened his jacket, squared his shoulders, and walked toward him without looking back. Elias glanced at me one last time. That look will stay with me forever. Regret. Gratitude. Love. All tangled together. They crossed the bridge side by side and disappeared into the darkness. He ran after them. You don't know what I thought I could do. I stopped the inevitable. Bargain with something that doesn't bargain. But when I reached the bridge, Elias was gone. In his place stood a man I hadn't seen since that afternoon in the cafe. Same face. Same eyes. But warmer. Alive in a way Elias never quite was. He looked at me, confused, disoriented. Hey, he said softly. I think we were supposed to meet again. He felt something crack open in my chest. Not pain. Not relief. Something gentler. Quieter. Yes, I said through tears. We were. Later, much later, I understood what Elias had done. He gave back the life he borrowed. He left me with the choice to live mine fully. You don't know where he is now. Or if he watches. Or if beings like him ever feel regret the way we do. But I know this. Love is not the fire that burns fastest. It's the warmth that stays when the fire is gone. It's choosing to let go instead of holding on too tightly. Choosing to protect instead of possess. Choosing life, even when it breaks your heart. If you've made it this far, thank you for sitting with me in this story. I'd love to know what you think. Was Elias right to leave? Would you have chosen differently? Have you ever loved someone you couldn't keep? Leave your thoughts in the comments, share this story with someone who might need it, and thank you for listening all the way to the end.